Admin's back, and he won't shut up about the CAR-15 from Blood Diamond. Go, 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 go! Come on, my brew. The extraction point's right up this hill, huh? Come on. Admin, you're a dead man! Yeah. Bit played out, don't you think? Covering fire!
Listen here, if that pilot does anything suspicious, you take this and point it right the back of his head, huh? He'll listen right up. This is the end of the line for me, my brew. This is where I die.
This is the Blood Diamond CAR-15. This is her now. Do you feel old yet? Gentlemen, today we're going over the Blood Diamond CAR-15 2.0, the updated version. I, of course, am a massive fan of the Blood Diamond CAR-15. It helped build this channel into what it is today, and I was kind of thinking, like, what if I did a more modernized variation of the gun itself, with an emphasis on more modern parts, giving it a little bit more of an edge in today's settings of attachments. To understand what I did with this, we have to briefly go over the first version. All right, here we have the OG 10.5 Blood Diamond carbine as seen in the movie. Not this particular one. A few big things, right? Just 10.5, 8.2 carry handle upper, Aimpoint Pro or Aim68, whatever it is. And we have a Surefire 660 up here. Now the Surefire dated, this style of Aimpoint, technically dated. And this setup does not have a suppressor or an IR laser. Now fun fact, Badlands Co. supplied the guns for Blood Diamond, which also did the guns for Black Hawk Down. And this style of carbine shows up briefly in Black Hawk Down in a slightly different style and look. The more you know. Probably talked about this like 90 times on this channel, so by now you guys should know it. Gentlemen, do you like looking cool? Of course you do. Americana Pipe Dream Apparel can help you look cool. Fantastic young Zoomers getting after in the milsurf space and arena. Night vision knives, manuals, and now e-bikes. What don't they sell? I'd encourage you to go check them out. They've been a wonderful sponsor of the channel. They can sponsor your LARP even harder. Gentlemen, Optics Planet is the optics sponsor of the channel. Big thank you to Optics Planet for getting your guns opticized. Just made that up. Now, what do we do with the new one? Well, if you have an acute eye, you'll probably see a few new gizmos and attachments on it. Now, if we look at the gun, there's obviously a lot more going on. So if we start at the tip, stealing the Grantham intellectual property, we have a 4-prong flash hider up here. The idea was to, of course, not be using a massive, kind of pointless moderator like on the first one. The biggest chief complaint I have about the Blood Diamond CAR-15 would be the moderator. If it was like one of the moderators of old, where it was considered like a suppressor and did some sort of sound mitigation, it wouldn't be a sound mitigation. It'd be more like making the gun sound like an AK or whatever it was back in Vietnam for those original XM177s. So for a can, went with the Surefire RC2. I know these probably aren't the best cans on the market for sound mitigation. I don't care. I think they're cool. I have a plethora of other cans, but I wanted to throw the Surefire on here because it has one of my favorite locking mechanisms for a suppressor. Then we get to the weapon light. Now the weapon light is interesting. I think I got the light body from a gentleman on Instagram, Turquoise Paint Pen, and it's attached to a weaver mount. Now the weaver mount is attached to a additional weaver mount, was what it would be. Now this is a Chinese knockoff of a weaver mount. Reason being is that for me, finding like the OG barrel clamp weaver mounts has always been a challenge, and to properly fit this in between the barrel and the sight block up here, you really got to essentially grind it down with like a Dremel. That's what I did. So I want to try and save those more elusive weaver devices for projects where it doesn't require me defacing those items. Now, of course, we have a Modlite OKW head. Modlite being one of the sponsors of the channel, I appreciate those guys very much, and I believe in their product, and I have staked my life on their product. There is a link down below where you'll get free shipping, and I really appreciate their product. I think it is fantastic, and they were one of the very first innovators of a massive throw on the weapon light / flashlight tactical world market, so I give them mad props. Moving down, we have a knockoff Somo gear NGAL. Guys, I'm a YouTuber. I'm a semi-successful gun YouTuber, but I still find myself struggling to pay for the full price of an actual NGAL, so I settle for the Somo gears. I like the look of it, and it's supposed to be a stand-in for if I had one of a more legit IR lasers on here. Now, I'm a believer in the IR laser. I think if you want to have another better option for identifying targets in the dark, PID, whatever, a laser is kind of important. Now, in the grand scheme of things, if you're just worried about maybe self-defense or depending on your adversary you may be facing, maybe a laser isn't the most necessary thing. You can probably get away without it, right? If you're just worried about, you know, some rapscallions breaking into your house in the middle of the night, chances are you just need a good white light. Thanks, Modlight. So with that being said, though, there's probably a whole endless rabbit hole of trains of thoughts and tactical applications you can get into. I just wanted to have the gizmo on there because it looks cool. What are you gonna do about it? The Modlight is rigged up to a Surefire pressure pad. Probably could have gone with a little bit of a smaller signature with the pressure pad, seeing how massive it is on top of the rail. Now, typically when it comes to white light pressure pads, I am not a fan and I have tried to get away from them. But for this, trying to keep it true to the OG Blood Diamond CAR-15 because that one has a pressure pad, I wanted to get this one a pressure pad, so that's why. Typically, I would just run the clicky cap because I've seen it where guys ND their white light, whether it's on the flat range or you go to like a Milsim Airsoft game, you've been trudging through the bush, LARPing hard, and then all of a sudden it's either you or one of your buddies hits the white light, and at one of those events where everyone has night vision, it's like sitting out the beacon of Gondor for everyone to come and kill you. So that's why. That was a lot. And of course, the rail itself is gonna be a nice armament CAC rail with a rail panel on bottom so it can protect my soft, girlish hands. I wanted to go with something a little bit more modern of a rail at first, like a free float M-block or whatever I could find that could work around the gas block for this length of barrel. But I ended up going with the CAC rail because I do like the CAC rail. I think it's a man's rail. You can do a lot with that Picatinny. Now the barrel length. So on the original, of course, it being a 10.5, I decided we bump it up an inch and we go 11.5. I think the 11.5 is one of the best SBR barrel lengths, you know, where you're not trying to meet in the middle where you have a weird like 12.5 or a 13.9 build, but you just commit to like a nice short 11.5. The 11.5 having good ballistics, especially if you pair it with some Badlands ammunition, the ammo sponsor of the channel, which they have some fantastic 70 grain TSX ammo, SBR optimized. I just think the 11.5 is goated. So of course that was another complaint I had with the original Blood Diamond CAR-15 is the 10.5 barrel length, and or if it was even a 10-inch in the movie, I am not 100%. So I decided, all right, let's bump it up, do 11.5, get a little bit more ballistically out of that extra inch. Fellas, we all know we want an extra inch in our life. Huh? Talking about height, I want to be a little bit taller. Moving down, we have the optics package. Now, this is something I'm pretty freaking proud of, right? Sometimes the level of my genius is frightening. I'm like a maestro at putting together obscurely weird, stupid guns. And you're welcome for it because you're probably watching this on the toilet, getting entertained to some capacity. God bless you, my brother in Christ. All right, Aimpoint T2 tan. Aimpoint sent this over. I appreciate them very much. They wanted me to tell you that they have tan Aimpoint T2s now. And I am, of course, a big fan of Aimpoint. And I had to make the optic that we're gonna put on this gun an Aimpoint. And I wanted something that was the T2 because it's a rugged, reliable, robust red dot that's nice and small and has a small footprint. And it doesn't sit as high as, say, an Aimpoint Pro would, or the M68 or the Comp, whatever, M2. One thing I was thinking about with how small the footprint of the T2 is, could there be a way to get some magnification on the gun? But the challenge is, the trick is, I want the T2 to stay as low as possible to the rail on top of the carry handle. So funny enough, I looked up on the Arisaka website, they have a mount that keeps a magnifier very low to the rail. And that's what I went with, because Aimpoint also sent me over a 6x magnifier to go on top of the rail. So now you may not have like a sick LPVO on here, but the idea was you're running an 11.5, maybe you're not worried about far distance threats in this hypothetical LARP situation where I am fighting in Arizona by Jean in the diamond mining fields controlled by the local HOA. I thought like, hey, line of sight, whatever, but you still have the option for pushing it out to range where you don't have the benefits of an LPVO, but you also don't have the drawbacks of an LPVO because if you wanted to use night vision passive aiming because you have a natural riser, you flip that 6x out of the way real low and now your nods can clear, and I've tried this under nods and it works. So I thought that was pretty cool and I was pretty proud of myself. I accomplished what I wanted to get done. Feels good, bros. Feels good. Now I will say, I really do wonder if there's like a weird tilt to the Aimpoint the 6x, but for all intents and purposes, it seems like it's lining up okay. God willing. So of course, carry handle is gonna be an A2. So moving down to the low receiver, nothing too crazy. It's supposed to kind of trick the mind. So you have some KDG accessories, bolt catch, ambidextrous mag release, and 45-degree safety throw. And I decided to go with an ambidextrous mag release because why not? If the option exists, let's do it. Now the pistol grip itself is going to be from B5. It's one of their newer, like retro, modernized pistol grips. Got a little compartment down there so I can store additional items that might be necessary to the rifle, like some small batteries for, say, an Aimpoint or an NGAL. And we got a more modernized charging handle. Very cool, ambidextrous. All right, so moving back to the buttstock. OG CAR-15 buttstock, but I wanted to throw a cheek riser on the stock. Now I got this from Hammy Prints, but what I found is that it kind of would come loose and wasn't as secure, so I threw a big old chonkus of a Ranger band on top, and so far it's been holding up rather nicely. You think Maddie Bowen still thinks about Danny Archer? I think she does. I think that she thinks she does. Now I will absolutely say that I love the way the gun handles running it unsuppressed. I mean, most cans always add that weight out front of the gun, and when you ditch that Surefire RC2 on there, the gun balances way better. Go figure, right? I remove weight from into gun feel better? Yeah, I know. I know it sounds pretty like water is wet, but I will say, like, in the unsuppressed configuration, very fun to run. Now, of course, I would say when we look at this particular setup with all the attachments versus the OG Blood Diamond CAR-15, there's really only 3 big different things, right? Like on the OG, it had a white light and it has a red dot. On this, we have a white light and a red dot, but now we have IR laser, suppressor, and a magnifier. Combining all this, you're trying to get the most bang for your buck as far as lethality goes, reducing your signature, being able to PID at night, getting an enhanced PID. I sound like a super high-speed nerd. Getting a better sight picture of what you're doing with a magnifier so you can see more clearly what's going on. All that different stuff adds into it. The riser, or the cheek riser, it could be there, it couldn't. I just did it because I thought it looked cool. Now, to me, the suppressor is, I think, one of the bigger game changers, whereas before you have this really loud moderator, now you have much more signature reduction with the can, which I think is kind of cool, you know? I think it's kind of fun. And I think I'm even that much more prepared to take on the local HOA Axis powers, or just LARP hard in the flat range, occasionally getting out of my mother's basement. Dude, if I was there with Danny Archer in Sierra Leone looking for a diamond, I would have died so fast. I probably would have gotten sick off something I ate or drank and just internally exploded. But I'm just built different like that, you know? So I will say by this point in the game, 90% of the ARs that I come across, I find rather boring. Now, that's not to say that I don't think the AR-15 is a phenomenal weapon, but when it comes to showbiz and entertaining the masses, I think by now we all have been wooed by the AR-15 and are not going to be surprised by anything. So that was kind of the goal, is building something more unique and basing it off something that we all know and love, which would be the Blood Diamond CAR-15. And I think I did the job. Who knows where this variation will go, what I'll do to it. I actually really do love this setup because I love running a carry handle, so if I can run it with more updated parts, I think it makes the gun that much more enjoyable. Now, what is the why behind a build like this? The biggest why is because it's cool and because I can. The second why is because I want another 11.5-inch rifle. I did want something a little bit more modern and up to date with the current trend of things, but I wanted it to have some style. I wanted to have that panache, that flair of coolness. And because I'm a little bit of a gun hipster when it comes to my AR builds, I want them to be weird and I want them to be different because I am just special like that. If there's any big takeaway within the firearm space, you are allowed to have fun and you are allowed to do cool builds. As long as you're not putting yourself into a hole financially, or if you are, you're a grown adult, I would assume, so we all live in a hell of our own making, but run buck wild, build a weird gun. I don't care what you do, I wanted to show off something cool like this. As always, gentlemen, I got nothing else for you. Godspeed.